Right. Okay. Thanks for asking me to present a bite-sized version of the Kent Property Market Report this year, and just really seeing what's happened over the COVID period for the last 3 months. So basically, the first month or so, all commercial sectors were hit pretty badly. Notwithstanding that, after Boris's relaxation on the lockdown about 3 months ago, the industrial market actually bounced back straight away, which is phenomenal, and has been motoring ever since. Completely different story for offices and retail, although tertiary retail parades are actually continuing to perform, which is encouraging. So I'll start off with the industrial market, and just letting you know where we are with this sector. So over the last 10 years, you'll see from the graph that average Kent rents have increased by 9%, and we are now at £10 per square foot overall in most locations. This is slightly different to certain areas in, for example, Dartford and Orpington, where Dartford we're reaching £14.50 and Orpington in the region of £17 per square foot, which is very good. Over COVID, there weren't any rent reductions on industrial, which is interesting. Landlords saw COVID as a blip and not a recession, and therefore, well, obviously it affects rent reviews. Rents remained at the same level, although more incentives were given, not too many. So those deals which were done over COVID, we kept up headline rents, which is fantastic. Now in Kent, there's about 20 new developments on industrial at the moment. I was just going to whiz through them to show you what's happening in the market. It's a very buoyant county compared to some. Over in Dartford, Littlebrook, Prologis have sold a number of sites to Rembridge. Berwickcote and Tritex are building out large facilities, 600,000 square feet or so for various tenants. With the first practical completion this year will be Dartford Trading Estate, which is a combination of units quoting £14.50 near the station, being constructed by Newables. Moving eastward slightly at Crossways, Goodman have got planning for over 200,000 square feet, where they're speccing larger units, and they've got some pre-let interest. Gravesend, Kia Trade Park, which haven't even got a spade in the ground yet, and the trade park has actually let 3 units already, which is very good. And interestingly, the trade counter market, although it was very dormant over the COVID period, is now coming back slowly but surely. So the likes of Screwfix, Toolstation, Carpets for Less, one by one, they're coming back and acquiring units around Kent. One of the largest schemes, M2 CityLink in Rochester, constructed by Location 3 for 80,000 square foot with some trade counter at the front, just been funded by Hermes. Now, this shows the demand from pension funds to actually fund new developments. This is done over the COVID period. The ever popular London Medway Commercial Park, built by Goodman, during the COVID period, Notum exchanged on 150,000 square foot for a new build, which follows in the footsteps of Amazon, which was done of about 300,000 square feet. Moving eastward, Trilogy at Sittingbourne, a site there was purchased by developers to have this house, and again funded by Barwell Capital. Construction of 80,000 square foot. Interestingly, the land there, quoting £550 an acre. Last year, a similar site was purchased by Doka at circa £450 an acre. And we'll go on to land values shortly, but you'll see there's quite a big divergence between land values in mid to East Kent to West Kent. G Park Sittingbourne, the home of Morrison's, can accommodate up to 500,000 square feet. And then going right across to Lakesview and Hersden in Canterbury, George Wilson has pre-let 60,000 square foot to Global Freight. Big news in the market coming down to Ashford. The Mojo site, to accommodate 1.2 million square feet, was sold a few weeks ago to the government for parking, which takes a big chunk out of the market. Leaving Waterbrook Park in Ashford, which can accommodate up to 200,000 square feet for GLE. Another COVID deal, Clearbell purchased off Seagrow Roxhill at Woodcut Farm, a distribution park to build units of up to 50,000 square foot. And then over to Aylesford, Panettone Park. Panettone were building a couple of 600,000 square footers where they have strong interest. Rembridge are building out at Arc in Aylesford, where they've already pre-let to new build and haven't even started construction yet. Cold Harbour Lane, where they'll also be building. Moving down slightly at Wootham, which is just off the M26, Walborough are building out 34,000 square feet of trade counter, again 3 units pre-let. And south to Tonbridge, Chancery Gate are building out a multi-let scheme. Chancery Gate being very active in Kent, having completed a new development in Maidstone, Crossways and Sidcup. Similar to Goya, who are also very active and have sites in Aylesford, Dartford, Orpington and Sidcup. Finally, moving over to the M25, Orpington, where Goya are building out 2 spec sheds of 102,000 square foot in total, looking at rental, looking at high rents there at £17 per square foot. Moving over to land values in the market. As you can see, Aylesford, we're off £1 million. The Arc site, which we mentioned last time, was bought in Snodland, was bought, 9 acres was bought for 1.2 million an acre, setting a record figure. At Dartford, 2 million. Hawley Road in Dartford, recent COVID deal, or just prior to COVID, bought by Goya, 4.5 acres at 1.82 million an acre. Orpington, 3 million an acre. Rochester, just over 1 million. Sevenoaks at 1.5. There's very few comparable sites which have been sold, but you'll see the divergence coming down to Sittingbourne at 600,000 an acre, and the Tavis House deal there, funded by Borough Capital, as mentioned, at 550. Values have already started moving on. Ashford's not on the list, but worth mentioning, quoting 650 an acre. The Ashford Rail Freight Terminal, 13.3 acres, recently purchased for 631,000. So there are certain locations there, like Sittingbourne and Ashford, which there's a big divergence in value compared to the Dartford side, and still plenty of demand. The investment market, although very quiet in the southeast in the UK, actually there's been a number of investment deals done also during COVID in Kent, and most of them in Aylesford. Larkfield Industrial Estate sold to M7 for 5.25%. Burntash was bought by Aberdeen Standard at 5.4%. F1 and F2 Sheldon Way, bought by Eton College at 6%. 1 to 7 Croy Wood traded hands. Hermes Parcelnet bought a single let in Croy Wood. Marchmont bought the Hermes Parcelnet unit for 5.5%. M7 purchasing 1 Sheldon Way. These are all in Aylesford at 5.6. Mid Kent Business Park, which is another single building, purchased for 4.97. And finally, Crossways, the only one which isn't in Aylesford, M7 purchased during COVID at 5.5%. So on the graph, you can see the yields. The multi-lets are down to about 4.5%, and then new build probably to 4%. Distribution a little bit higher, but from comparable evidence, you'll see that those rentals are mixed or multi-let on the secondary around about the 5.5%. So a very positive story for industrial in Kent and the southeast. Moving on to business parks. Very early, far too early to find out what's going to happen to the office market. Will it be smaller floor plates, or will the companies be moving out of London and taking the same size floor plates? Yet to be seen. Just moving around some of the business parks, we're very lucky in Kent as we have a number of prime business parks which compete to those in the southeast and nationally. At Crossways, and predominantly these business parks are office-led. Crossways, actually an industrial deal, building Equinox, 50,000 square foot, was let during the COVID period. And M7 purchased, as I mentioned earlier, Schooner Park at Crossways at 5.5%. Kings Hill, a number of smaller deals, always moving rents on to £24, £25 per square foot. But interestingly, a large 100,000 square footer office, 98,000, was sold 142 Kings Hill Avenue to KCC for 23 million at 6.79%. Moving further down the motorway, Junction 4, Gillingham Business Park, almost 100% let, owned by Threadneedle. There's various parts of the park which aren't owned by Threads. At phase 27, Lloyds Bank are coming out of 40,000 square foot of office. Now, this may not go back to office, but may go for a different use, such as a hotel. Industrial again, Pennant House, under offer, 20,000 square foot, owned by Buccleuch. And Was Air, a sale and leaseback of 80,000 square foot and 20,000 square feet, currently under offer. Moving down the M2 at Sittingbourne, Kent Science Park, I've done one of the largest lettings this year, 30,000 square foot to Optiva. Discovery Park, further out, letting smaller suites, and very prominent with the science and high-tech market, which has been a big focus this year in Kent, especially at places like Kim's and the Maidstone Innovation Centre, where they're constructing 37,000 square foot for workspace. Down at Ashford, Eureka, BizSpace took 20,000 square foot design and build, and Trinity College sold to M7 15,000 square foot at 9%. Average rents have increased over the last 5 years by 5% on business parks alone. Moving along to offices, town centre offices. Now again, far too early to know what's going to happen with the town centre, but obviously many town centres have been not obliterated, but a lot of deals done office to residential. So whether we'll be seeing more smaller floor plates and even more offices to residential. Rents have moved on to £24 per square foot in Maidstone. This is just pre-COVID, which is very good. And moving up to Sevenoaks at £30 per square foot. Some of the office to residential deals this year, Bam Nuttall sold their 20,000 square foot HQ to Mert Homes. And one of the largest deals done in the southeast this year, Fidelity, who are moving along the M25, sold their HQ in Sevenoaks, Oak Hill House, of 100,000 square foot to Berkeley Homes. Some of the new developments, planning consent has been achieved for 250 million mixed-use film studio on the old 12.5 acre railway works at Ashford Road by Quinn Estates. And one deal on the office side worth mentioning on the 2020 estate in Aylesford, Watman House, 27,000 square foot, sold to Golding Homes for 6 million. Office investments, very little office investments, apart from Eureka, which again sold at 9%, more of a business park. Yields, as you can see, are at 7% for business parks and just over 5.5% for offices. The retail market, obviously, been greatly affected during COVID. But just on rents generally, Tunbridge Wells, Canterbury, Maidstone, all leading the charge, and Sevenoaks with good Zone A rents. There'll be a structural change, no doubt, in the high street, as we're all waiting for. Interesting fact, 1 in 10 retail units will be left empty, and 12% across the country will be void. Notwithstanding that, in Kent and in the UK generally, supermarkets are leading the charge with land purchases, and retail warehousing occupancy is up. More locally, tertiary parades are performing either as investments or being purchased for SIPs and pension funds. A couple of new builds in Kent, M&S, flagship scheme at Eclipse Park at Maidstone. It's just opened over the COVID period, and planning consent has been achieved at Canterbury Guilds Hall for redevelopment. Last but not least, the residential market. Again, another interesting fact, August was the steepest rise in house prices in the UK. which is encouraging. And if you look at the graph for Kent, you'll see that Kent actually has outperformed national growth being 13% for the last 5 years. So you can see Dover at 23%, Canterbury Thanet, and actually the smallest growth, Tunbridge Wells, in resi prices at 20%, is well above the national average. Similarly, house prices, national average being 248,000. Sevenoaks is at 461,000, the average house price, which is basically a bit of a bubble. A lot of London commuters. Now the question is, will this last? Because obviously a lot of commuters aren't there now. So maybe those occupiers, those people wanting to buy houses may look further afield. So maybe we'll see a slight divergence with Sevenoaks. Tunbridge Wells, a bit more sensible prices at 400,000. And bang on, the national average is Swale at 248,000. There's still a very large land grab in Kent, with developers competing with investment companies to buy strategic land in order to get planning for resi, with all the government initiatives. National and local developers leading the charge with locations such as Swale, which has been relatively cheap in the past, land values, and are being bought up by the national developers. Well, that's all from me for this year. We'll be presenting the Kent property market report in its full later on this year. Any questions, please ask. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark. That was great. Does anybody have any questions at all? And please feel free to either unmute yourselves or put them in the chat.
Can I ask a question, Molly?
Yeah, of course you can.
Hi, I'm just wondering about the Kent property market report, Mark. If anyone can click on and go on to your presentation now, not your presentation, sorry, on the 5th of November, 4th
Yes.
of November. So because generally it's a select database, isn't it? Select invites.
Yes, yeah.
Because of numbers.
Yeah, I think so. The actual periodical will be available, the magazine, after catalogue afterwards. So we'll email that out. It's on our website at Caxton's, and it has its own website as well. So if you Google...
Will Molly be able to send out a link to the event through the KCFG network?
Should be able to. I'll check on that with our marketing department.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you.
Come back to you, Molly.
Brilliant, thank you. Did anyone else have any questions at all? I've got one here. Would we be able to get a copy of the stats, etc., included with the slides and details of new development? Yeah,
can do. If you can drop me an email, graham.coxon@caxtons.com. I'll probably give you a call first, and then we can chat through. We've got many more developments available, or Kent has in general. I've just done a snapshot of what's being built, what's completed, but we're very lucky in Kent for having so much industrial. And in fact, probably 3/4 of my deals at the moment are industrial, with obviously limited retail and office.
Perfect. And what we will do as well as after this event is then we will send you all a link to a resources page, and that will include all of the recordings from each of the speakers today, a copy of their presentations and any other handouts they may have had from the day as well. So all of the attendees and the hosts will get access to that too.
That's great.
If that is all of the questions, then thank you very much.
That's all right. Thank you.
Thank you.